The FBI is requesting interviews with 6 Democratic lawmakers who urged troops to refuse illegal orders. The Bureau has opened an inquiry into the lawmakers, and now the 4 House members and 2 senators are accusing President Trump of using the agency as a tool to intimidate and harass them. Let's bring in retired Lieutenant General Doug Lute for more on that. General Lute, thanks for coming on. So what do you expect to come from this inquiry?
You know, it's difficult to say. I'm neither an FBI investigator nor a lawyer, right? But as I watched the video by the 6 national security professionals, it seems to me they come across with sincerity, and they're simply reminding the American public, their constituents, their former colleagues in the military services and in the intelligence services of what the law says. And the law here is quite clear. It is that military professionals, military officers have an obligation to obey lawful orders, but they have a parallel obligation to not obey illegal orders. And that message seems quite clear.
Trump is accusing these lawmakers of seditious behavior punishable by death. What's your reaction to that?
Well, look, the word sedition and so forth has a legal definition, and I'll leave that to the legal professionals to define. But this goes into, this addresses the intent of the video by the 6 members of Congress. And I think that the intent will come out and will be clear to Americans. Clearly, the FBI will try to address this issue, try to uncover what was their intent. But to me, they come across as sincere with a quite candid and I think helpful reminder of what the law actually says. And this has to do with the obligation not to obey illegal orders. That's essentially what the video says.
And Defense Secretary Hegseth laid out his case against them, saying the video's vague rhetoric, this is the quote, vague rhetoric and ambiguity undermines trust, creates hesitation in the chain of command, and erodes cohesion. What do you make of that argument?
I don't think there's any lack of clarity in the chain of command. Look, military officers from day one, when they're commissioned as military officers and for the first time take the oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution, know repeatedly in their military education and exercises and so forth exactly what abiding by the Constitution means. So this is well drilled into the military chain of command. And frankly, I don't think a statement by members of Congress or an FBI investigation is really going to move them much. They understand well what their obligations are.
Hegseth also notes that the military already has clear procedures for handling unlawful orders. So what should a service member do if they think an order might be unlawful or illegal?
Well, if there's some question in the mind of a service member, they have a couple of choices. So one is that they can seek the counsel of their chain of command, even if that chain of command is the source of the order. Right? So they can question this. And the second is that embedded in the military chain of command are legal professionals, lawyers, trained lawyers, who as commissioned officers stand ready to provide advice, not only to the chain of command who issues the orders, but to the recipient of those orders as well. So they've got alternatives here if the situation is ambiguous.
General, if all this is already laid out, why make this video? Why do you think this message, these lawmakers found this message necessary?
You know, I can't speak to their intent. I haven't spoken to any of the 6. I don't know, but I suspect because they all come from a military or intelligence service background, that they felt obliged because of that initial oath of office that they took as young professionals, probably in their early 20s, that each of the 6 seems to me sincere that that oath of office means what it says. And that to this day, even though they're no longer in the military or no longer in the CIA, to this day, that oath of office has personal and serious meaning to them. And I think it was, in a way, a healthy reminder of what we ask of our national security professionals.
All right, General Doug Lute, thank you.